Hello, and if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are Remarkist, communities of fans who watch television shows and movies together virtually, but as if we're in the same room, gathered around the same television. We do this using the Clubhouse app, and we would love to have you join us for future watches. You can simply make an account on Clubhouse and search for our name, Remarkist, to find our club. Or if you'd like more information about the project as a whole, please visit remarkist.com to learn lots more about who we are and what we do. As for our recordings, remember that we always get our episodes started but paused at the 0-second mark and count down to pressing the play button together at the same time. That way, our experience can be as synced up as possible. You can pause this for a moment to get that set up, or if you're ready to go, let's get this thing started.
Whoops, no. Yeah, no, we're watching episode 8. It's something about war, something is the name of the title. Sabrina, I'm sure you know the name of the title.
Love, war, and no.
There we go. Are you guys ready?
So ready.
Yeah. Let's do it.
1, 2, 3.
Yes, our first meeting.
Oh, town meeting. I do remember these. Oh, wait a second.
That's the mayor people mentioned before.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
This
Is
guy.
that the actor who played Boss Hogg on Dukes of Hazzard?
No, I think that
No.
guy's been dead for a while.
Okay.
That's so specific. I know what you're talking
He's got a Boss Hoggy type of quality to him.
about. He does. No, he died in 1994.
Okay. Wow, that's some good trivia.
Yeah, the Wikipedia, or maybe I knew that. And to be clear, we never see this man ever again.
Okay.
That's a great line.
Oh, there's Sean.
I keep saying that Luke is strangely progressive.
Very progressive.
So yeah, this is what I was talking about when I was like, wait, isn't there a mayor? Like, when does Taylor become the guy running
Right.
the meeting? Even in this meeting, Patty was originally like running it, and then like, so it's just kind of like I'm forgetting when we see that shift made. Because yeah, they never talk about the mayor again, and then later on, seasons later, we find out, oh yeah, Taylor's actually town selectman, whatever the heck that means.
Aren't there a few things that are like just things that are in the show early on and just sort of evaporate? Like, isn't Lane a cheerleader at one point or something like that? Or
yes.
Or there's
Yes,
something
but
going on that they were like, I
You're
do remember.
forgetting
Yeah,
the episode. for
I
like
do
one
remember
episode.
hearing
How do
something
you know
like,
that? She was a cheerleader for one episode.
okay.
I feel like we
Oh,
did
and for
see
the
the
new
mayor
people,
one other
no
time,
skipping
but I could be
intros.
wrong.
I'm just thinking about that, probably like likely being a fan. Well, not likely, definitely being a fan, just right outside the window.
I can't not say his name. Max Medina. Max Medina.
He's smooth.
Like peanut butter. I'm like how Lorelai uses snow. It's amazing.
Careful with the audio. It's I think we're kind of bleeding on somebody's.
Yo, I miss the smell of snow so much. We don't get it in Texas. Come to Canada.
Nobody said Suki was their favorite character, did they?
I was going to.
She has a lot of ups and downs.
Because she's pretty high up there for me.
Me too. I'm the same.
She's big on comic relief. That's my favorite part.
I think for me with Suki, the weirdest thing is like watching it and being like, that is Melissa McCarthy. That's so weird. Because I just
Right.
don't relate the two people at all.
Anymore, yeah, sure. So this is interesting because they're kind of, with the whole Lane being in the marching band, we're already in a way starting to set up that a band, is potentially on the horizon. Not that they imagined that there was, but that sort of fits.
Which is weird and doesn't make any sense later when she goes to learn to play the drums and acts like she's never touched a musical instrument before in her life.
Oh.
No spoilers.
I was like, I thought she knew how to play the drums when I joined the show. I mean, Keiko actually was taking lessons, but that doesn't look like she's playing the drums. Whatever's in that little box there seems like it's maybe like a horn or something, right?
Guess you'll have to see.
Something that's played out enough anyway.
Great way to be the best friend and not the mom that you do not want to tell things to. Whoa. But Charlotte Bronte, though.
I feel like we've dramatically advanced our relationship from the last episode.
Right? I mean, now kisses are just but I feel like he still needs to get some Charlotte Bronte in there. By the way, I just want to say, I just realize now how much I miss film, like television shows shot on actual film, because you can really see the difference.
Yeah, it's very crisp.
Well, the outdoor shot that we just saw there was just so you could just see the texture in the background. You could see the film grain. It was just really, really nice. Just reminded me that we don't have that anymore.
I loved how sometimes, depending on what TV show you're watching, you can see little imperfections, not just the grainage, but some of the film picture being all shady. I don't know.
Yeah, little scratches and stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, timestamp, please.
13:35. Do we know much about Luke's father's backstory yet? Did I miss something?
Not
No.
really. Not yet.
No.
Nope.
Because I did notice that the name of Luke's diner says something hardware.
Williams Hardware.
Yeah,
We'll get to that. It's
Okay.
not, it hasn't been explained.
got it.
This whole scene is dubbed, right?
Yes, correct.
I was like, the sound is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, you can really hear it. Yeah, because
Is that because they were outside, or?
Yeah, because they were outside, and the microphone likely had these little flakes falling on it, and then the sound person said, "This is not really. We could use." Yeah, because the microphone would have been really close to them.
I
Right
would
up
love
to
to know, what did they use? Like, because that's obviously not in a place where it snows. What
No.
did they use for snow?
They used a few different things. Let me talk about that in the post-show discussion, because it's one of my favorite aspects of making the show was snow, and I just absolutely love it. And there's so many different things that they did, so I want to talk about that, like in
Yep.
sort of a larger context. Oh my goodness.
My favorite thing to do for
I
a
love
man.
that she did it, but oh man, how embarrassing.
Oh my goodness.
I feel
feel like
embarrassed
that's
more
like
than
in a
Elaine on that
And then she
situation.
jumped out. She's like, oh.
I don't know if that's more embarrassing or the outfits.
And this is why Lane never played again.
Okay. Did we find out what was in that box?
Saxophone?
I don't think so.
No.
They never
Oh.
showed us.
Okay. Why did she do that?
She's
Just-
in love with the
Because she
boy.
loved his hair.
She loved his
She just
hair.
loved his hair. Oh my goodness.
And based on the size of the case, I would say it was a trumpet.
Got it.
The
She was
exact
talking
same
to Rory
thing
about
Oh
Lane
it. John
gosh,
Howard
the
and talking
snow.
about
I mean,
that.
this is just my favorite thing. I loved the snow on this show. Again, dubbed.
Yeah, it must be the snow and the mics.
God, it's so weird hearing this.
I love this part. This whole episode is probably my favorite episode of the whole series.
I love that
Such a
line.
great line.
So good.
Favorite line of that episode.
I find that comment funny because I don't think a whole lot of whipping up of things happens at her house.
Yeah, and it's bizarre that there's a frozen pizza in there.
For that house, yes.
Huh.
They have frozen
A Turkish prison. We can't do that anymore.
I
Hang
was
up
just
on
going to-
people and have them hear it.
I was just going to say that. I'm just hanging up on people.
I had a house phone all the way up until I was a junior in high school, so 2011.
You just mean like the ability to just like hang up the phone and really make it have a real sound on the other end.
Yeah, that click. Now, if
Yeah.
if you hang up
You
on
could just-
somebody, it's
right,
just
you
like,
could
did
just
the
kinda-
call drop or did I lose signal?
You could like still kind of hit the off button while also simultaneously slapping your phone.
Okay, I haven't tried that, but usually like the slamming down of the phone.
Yeah,
Did it
feels
all.
good. It feels good. So I'll just say paper. The stuff on the floor is paper. We'll talk more about what that specifically a little later.
I love that you can go over when there's nobody there.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't fly for you, say.
Because of the key under the turtle. to me, that speaks to how privileged Emily did grow up as well. The fact that she doesn't know the timer on the oven.
Hey, so this is this the same place where we were watching Eraserhead in the revival?
Yeah.
Yep, the red, white.
Interesting.
Red, white, and black movie.
Wow, I didn't really realize that was a place on the show. I thought it was just something in the revival.
It is a great movie theater because it's just a living room, basically. But yes, this is the town movie theater.
This makes me want to have pizza.
These moments where Emily is like kind of learning and getting out of her comfort zone, they're so my favorite.
More of Emily's privilege.
Yikes.
Yikes.
That's sad.
I love when we get these softy glimpses of Luke.
That to me is the first real like that. That to me feels like the most Kirk that we've got.
Aww.
Wow, there we go. That's some real love triangle brewing there.
Yep.
That's like the first legitimate love triangle thing that the show is doing, I think.
First of many.
These were the rules I was mentioning before.
The right
This
words
is-
to say.
I was
Pushy.
I was just gonna say this is a little
Ah.
really wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That
no,
works.
she is 100%, that's 100% legit, because that's exactly how I was when my daughter was younger. So I probably wouldn't have given in so easily.
You wouldn't have given in because I'm
I
surprised
wouldn't
that
have.
she gave in. I found that to be really, really, really pushy.
Oh, I agree. I would not have given in. And even with my daughter gone, I mean, she's obviously coming back in the morning, or, it's going to be awkward. It could be awkward.
Well, I mean, it's Max, and
But it's Rory's teacher, so if she comes home and finds him there, really, really awkward.
yeah, but I mean,
They just started dating. I'm old-fashioned.
I don't blame her though.
TV relationships go a lot faster than real relationships.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Oh, some real relationships go this fast.
I was about to say I can count a lot of guys. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Yikes. I loved that scene.
I don't know how they talked Mrs. Kim to that. I find it very inappropriate in a way that, like, she doesn't really know him that much. And he's staying there, and another person is staying in the house with it.
Well, where else was he gonna go?
But then having Lane there seems a little inappropriate because she doesn't know him that well. Do you know what I mean?
I get it, but it's TV. Where else is he gonna go?
Hotels exist.
The
Ruining the magic.
That's really
Not-
nice.
Or more or less just not having Lane stay there so much when there's a man that's staying at her house that she doesn't know type deal.
You're ruining the magic.
I also don't understand how Mrs. Kim agreed to let Lane stay at someone else's house in the same town.
It's Rory. She always makes an exception.
Maybe also because of the blizzard, perhaps.
Max had to stay there so Rory could find him on the couch.
I loved all of Lorelai's decisions in that scene. The dialogue is still not that fast, I should say. It's not the speed I remember.
It'll get progressively faster as they kind of grow into their characters. By season 2, for sure.
Interesting, Christopher.
I was just going to say, I was trying to kind of get who that was in the photograph. That's supposed to be Christopher.
Yeah, that's supposed to be Christopher when they were kids.
A year before Rory was born, actually.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That's a good episode.
Yeah, impressions on the episode. That was definitely a higher up on my list of episodes that I've seen so far. I really enjoyed that a lot. I feel like I feel like I that episode for me with Lorelai was the first one that I really felt like I could relate to her a bit more.
I don't know if you remember when we first started talking about Max and Lorelai, and we said, it's hard to imagine why she would agree to see him, but then why Rory would freak out. And I think this explains it, is that until Max, Lorelai never, ever let Rory see her dating side.
Right.
And then for the first time, she's seeing the dating side, and it's her teacher. Like, it's so much for her all at once.
I also feel like it's part of a whole, like, her worlds are slightly starting to collide with each other, because before all of this, like, Chilton, I mean, we're only 8 episodes in, but nonetheless, Chilton and that life has always been separate to her home life. And so now that not only that her mother's dating her teacher, she's freaking out, but she's also probably freaking out that, like, oh my God, my worlds are colliding. I don't know what to do with this. I'm only 16.
Yeah, what I found interesting about this episode, and actually I feel like now that I'm something that I've noticed for sure is that every day that I watch these, the next day I'm still thinking about the episode that we watched before, and I typically have a slightly shifted perspective on the episode, given like a day to let it simmer with me. And while I still wouldn't say that, yes, that episode 7 is an episode that I would rank high up for this season, I sort of I definitely get how important it is after episode 6, right? Because it does this really nice like parallel between Emily and Lorelai, right? Where we see Lorelai in episode 7, behaving in ways that remind us of things that Emily did. And this episode kind of does something similar there as well, at least there in the end, with Rory, with like Rory and her reaction to Max Medina, and how that's sort of changing the dynamic that she has had with her mother, which kind of nicely fits with the episode before, where we're seeing that from Lorelai's perspective. So just, I guess what I'm saying is that rather than seeing these like as individual episodes, I'm also now starting to see them in like little clusters, like these 3 fit together or these 2 fit together. And until you see both of them, you may not have the full perspective of the episode.
Okay, not to like kind of jump ahead, but I'm like super curious about the snow, and I've been like just waiting to talk about.
Yes, please,
snow.
John.
The snow is just it's just hands down my favorite thing about it. Was my favorite thing about working on that show. And when I found out that I was in winter for the revival, like I was just excited because I was like, oh yes, I get to see that snow magic again. It was done. I mean, those people who dress that outdoor area and create fall, because fall is equally as complicated. They're wizards. I mean, what they do is amazing. The snow is made up of a variety of different techniques that all kind of work together. So the sidewalks, that's like a paper pulp, right? That's been like shredded so that it's almost cottony in spots, but then in other spots matted, right? So that it has that like walked on look. And then also can stick to your shoe as you're walking over it. The streets, every time right before they have to shoot, they walk out there with a hose and they hose down the streets so that the streets look like they have been, or the areas of the streets that don't have that paper on them, or some areas that do, so that it looks like kind of a mushy kind of that gray snow that piles up on the side, but that the streets have that like perpetual wet look. The stuff coming out of the like floating in the air, that's something that everyone who isn't an actor is wearing a mask. Like all of the crew is like wearing a mask, and so that's some particle that we always joked about, like, why aren't we wearing masks? Like, why? Like, is there some reason why? I imagine it's because they're around it a lot, but it's some kind of flaky particle that looks a lot like a clumped piece of snow. And they have these huge machines that just blow it into the air from right off camera. So it's just everywhere. It's just falling all over the place. Then there's the spray, which is similar to like what you would spray like on trees and stuff. And that would be used. Somebody said that they thought it was soap bubbles. I heard that as well, but when I was there, I remember, like, especially there when we were there with Winter, being kind of like, this is not soap. But maybe it was. Maybe it was some kind of soapy type thing. But like mailboxes would be sprayed with like some sort of a light snow spray. There was like a car inside, if you noticed, that was inside the garage while they were like Max and Lorelai were having their scene. That whole car was just sprayed lightly with this like white stuff that you would spray on your window or whatnot. There isn't one specific snow. It's all of these different things mixed together. It's wet paper and clumped up fuzzy pulpy paper, and and it's people, it's the wardrobe folks walking up to you and putting some like stuff on your hat and on your sleeves. It's remarkable because it looks so authentic, even there on set. Like, you're standing like a foot from it and you're just like, whoa. So, the sides of the street, right? Where like maybe a pileup of snow would be, that would be like a little like piece of cotton that's like wrapped over something that's giving it like volume, right? So that it looks like a pile of snow off to the side.
Like a snowbank?
Yeah, like a little snowbank off the sides of the road, right? Those would be like
when they were standing for the reenactment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those would be like, that would be like cotton, like a cotton sheet over, some sort of frame underneath it that like gives it the puff, and then add some of that like falling stuff on it and to give it a little bit more texture. If it's a bank on the side of the road that would be like naturally from like cars driving by, then maybe it would like get a little bit of gray spray paint on it.
So John, how do they clean that all out? Like, because if they're blowing this stuff in the air, plus there's a pulpy paper stuff everywhere, like how do they get that all cleaned up?
That's what I was going to ask. And on the cars, spraying that stuff on cars and windows.
Please say leaf blower.
I mean, I would be lying if I said I totally know. It's just, I mean, they just, I mean, that crew that builds sets and, you know, dresses the sets and designs it. I mean, that's just, they do it. I mean, I could imagine that the snow, they're just hours like sweeping up all of that paper. Maybe they've got like some little like vehicles that come by that, like, you know, maybe like a street cleaner type thing that comes by and just like brushes the street or something. To be honest with you, that I actually don't know the answer to that question. I mean, other than I just assume they just work hard and just have to sweep it all up.
I would not want that job.
So the answer is you're never around for the cleanup.
That is a good way of saying it. I'd say, Mary, yeah, definitely. I haven't been around for the cleanup. No,
That's below your pay grade.
I'm sorry, I'm just like cracking up. I'm sorry, I'm just teasing.
no, it's fine. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm speaking with a mouthful of food. I'm eating right now.
I was just going to say, oh, sorry. I was going to say, I like your comment about film versus the digital, because it is really noticeable watching some of these shows from the late 90s and early 2000s to when they transitioned to digital. You could really see the difference. And I like the softness of the film. Well, you can definitely tell, like, when sadly the WB was no longer the WB and it became the CW, you can definitely tell. And I think that was like, what, season 6 and season 7, or was it just season 7? I think it was season 6.
Okay. So like when it transitioned from the WB to CW, you can definitely tell like the difference in the picture because it was getting revamped and stuff. So I totally understand that.
Sorry. Gotta remember to flash the thing. I always thought there was a pretty big difference between, I mean, there is between seasons 5 and 6, but between 3 and 4, there's actually a noticeable difference in terms of lighting, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah, I wonder if that has to do with high school versus college age, Rory. Just the change up the look and stuff. And then they change from the Independence into the Dragonfly and all that kind of stuff. It's like they all evolved between those two seasons in like their characters changed a lot in that year's worth of time.
Okay, unrelated, but I've been sitting on this for like 30 plus minutes, but I was like a band geek for like 8 years, so I can give some insight as to what instrument Lane is playing. The case is a trumpet case. It's too small for the saxophone case, and I know that because I played saxophone in my school's band for like years. I played both alto and tenor, and both of them are just too big to be that small. And I like also it's revealed later that she does actually play trumpet, but also the hat that she wears as part of her uniform is called a shako, and the little feather thingy on top of the shako is called a plume. Fun fact. So
cool. So I guess because I didn't know that the Lane character knew any other instrument other than the drums. So it seems like that just evaporates. It doesn't go anywhere.
Well, I feel like they do mention it later again about the trumpet, because I also felt like I knew it was a trumpet, but I don't know why. So I think it does come back briefly, but not enough to like make it into the band narrative.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would guess trumpet or cornet, because I played cornet until I got kicked out of band in 5th grade, and my case was kind of like that, but probably a trumpet.
I played the trumpet, and that's what I said earlier in the episode. Based on the size, I would say that was a trumpet.
Because Lane could have played some trumpet in Alien for some of our some ska type stuff. I think it could have been cool.
But I also think it's one of those like high school experiences. I can't play the flute again. So I think that may have been also part of the way they wrote it.
Yeah. Well, general impressions from you folks. What did you? How do you feel about this episode in general? I said that it's a stronger episode for me, even though it's not a very town heavy episode, and it might be because it's got a lot of Emily and Richard, which are I'm realizing that I just really love that corner of the story world. But interested, how's everybody else feel about this episode? Just curious.
I kind of like this episode just because it's, the whole, I think it's like the first real like wintry scene that they have there. So it's the first time we see that snow and all that stuff. And I'm finding that like watching it deliberately with a group of people like you all, no matter how many times I've seen this before, I'm noticing things, whether it's discrepancies from something that I know from a future episode that I'm picking up on something that was maybe said in a future episode that now is kind of the discrepancy. Now it's like I'm noticing more little things like that as I'm watching it, like deliberately watching it, like not like, because the past few times I watch it like as I'm falling asleep, or I watch it as I'm doing housework, or I watch it as I'm, working, teleworking. So like now that I'm deliberately watching every scene to be able to be part of the conversation, I'm noticing things that I've not noticed in the other 72 times that I've watched it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's cool. That might be, partly just, with everyone sharing little bits here and there, we're just a little more hyper aware of stuff that's happening.
I think Tasha wants to say something.
Yes, thank you. Like my fingers getting cramped. Anyway, so I think, as of I've seen this, I don't know, like hundreds of times now. I think like the town meeting, which kicked off the episode, is kind of like town meetings, like regardless of what the episode, like what the rest of the episode has, I think town meetings are low key one of my favorite things, because like they kind of give insight to like different people's lives, and while we may or may not get to know too many of the other townspeople, it's just like really funny because you get a lot of the humor from town meetings. Like Luke's interjection in that town meeting was one of many instances of what I love when he gets heated in town meetings. But we'll see that as like the series goes on. But I really love the town meeting, especially when Harry was like, "Who is that?" "It's me, Harry. You've known me since I was 5. Yeah, sit down." Is one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think that this episode, well, first off, the "I smell snow" line is like pretty iconic, and most fans will know that line. But I think it set the stage for a lot of their relationships, with like Rory showing Emily and Richard that she is capable and like was able to provide for them in a moment that they nearly lost their minds and couldn't provide for themselves. And with Lorelai having that heart-to-heart with Lane and kind of exposing that more vulnerable side when she tells Rory about bringing guys home. I think that this just like really helps set the scenes for some of the future episodes.
Well, John, how did you feel with that scene with Emily and Richard and the photos? Because you kind of reacted when it ended.
How did I react? How did I react?
I think you went down like oof when Emily got up and walked away and Richard got up and walked away.
Yeah,
awkwardness.
well, the awkwardness of that of just, you know, when she was like, you know, her coming out, no, she didn't have one. It was like, and then like that sort of, you know, just sort of hits Rory, and then just the awkwardness of that just kind of killing the whole moment. That there was something very sweet about them going through these photos and coming together. So the oof was mostly just like, that got sort of soured.
But
but
it goes to show they haven't recovered. Like this.
Yeah.
This is not in the past.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that I mean, you certainly feel that. You certainly feel that. That when you say that they have not recovered, you mean the whole family, or specifically the Emily and Richard?
I'm thinking Emily and Richard. Like as far as Lorelai, when she talks to Lane, she explains that she's happy with her life. She doesn't regret her decision. But
right.
You can see on the other side that
it's still painful.
It's still painful. They haven't gone over the fact of everything that they missed out on with Lorelai.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. I mean, just even you just saying it again, I'm like, oof. You know. Yeah. I really loved that scene. I mean, there were a few scenes that I really loved. I just love that the Lorelai and Lane scene. That was great, and was kind of a moment where I was like, that's a good person. That's also a good mother, you know, like, you know, to Lane, you know, in that moment. That felt like really good parenting moment. At least that was my instinct. In general, I mean, I said it when it was happening, but in general, anytime that I see Emily growing in any way, like just stepping outside of her comfort zone, like, you know, when she tries the stuff that Suki made, or just comes to the birthday party, and, you know, actually, you know, tries the pizza and likes the pizza. Like, I just think that's, for me, I mean, I hope that keeps going. Obviously, that, you know, that'll wear off after a while if that's all the dynamic of that character is. But as of right now, it's just I'm enjoying it so much, because I see that character, I guess, growing more than any other right now.
How about that look from Luke at the end there? First, he's bonding with the reenactors, and then he sees Lorelai and Max. I like how they're really, like, early on establishing what Luke might feel for Lorelai, even though he never expresses it to anybody else.
Whoa, what he might feel for Laura? I mean, that was so clear. I mean, that was like that moment was just now we have a love triangle.
It's clear from Rory's birthday party.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, his reaction there was just like really, really
strong,
like very. He was. I mean, I don't know if I want to go as far as to say devastated, but it was pretty close. I mean, when you like drop your head like that, you know, that is just like, yeah, that's defeat, you know, and so that's fun.
That's laying the foundation right there.
Yeah, that's very fun. I'm looking forward to seeing how that starts to evolve, for sure. How did others feel about the scene between Lorelai and Lane specifically? I'm curious.
Oh, I really like that scene myself. I always have liked like how Lorelai kind of treats Lane like a second daughter. You know, we've only seen a little bit so far, but that really like starts that you kind of see that with her.
Yeah, totally.
Like you mentioned, it shows her mothering skills that we don't get to see her do very much with Rory. I think Rory, in some ways, is much more emotionally advanced than Lane. But you can tell that when she needed help, Lorelai was there to help her, you know, make fun of herself, accept herself, learn to move on, that kind of thing.
what really struck me was that all Lane said was that she was here to see Rory. That's all she said. And so there's no real reason, just from that, there's no real reason to think there's anything that would have Lorelai need to end her date and go deal with that. But that Lorelai could feel it. She could just feel that there was something more. And that was, somebody's like just in the moment with this man, but that like she could sense that, and it would just
she heard her listening to The Cure, and she knows her well
right.
enough to know that was a sign. Like, okay, I have to get out of here and fix this.
Yeah, and then that she does that. She's like, yeah, no on the date. This is not as important to me as helping this girl who is not her daughter, but is an important part of her daughter's life, therefore her life, part of the town, whatnot. And so in that moment, I think it was probably the first moment for me where the parenting, Lorelai's parenting, was just really on display, and it was really solid, and I loved all of the dialogue and the scene, and it was great.
Is it bad that I saw it also as kind of a good out?
Right. Well, I mean,
as a single mom, it's kind of like I don't have to deal with too much awkwardness.
I didn't really. It didn't strike me that she didn't want to be with Max. She seemed totally into it. Like she seemed
no. Oh, not that she wasn't into it, but more like I feel like it wouldn't have been quite as easy had it been. I don't know. I feel I'm just speaking from a different perspective, maybe.
Well, I mean, you probably have a much better perspective than I do. I wouldn't really know exactly how Lorelai was feeling in that moment, but I did feel like Max was really pushing hard, right? He was trying everything he could to not be on that couch and to come in, and and even in that moment when she goes off, to deal with Lane, like, yeah, you kind of sense that he wishes there wasn't all that inconvenience, and because of it, sort of, I think that it's knocked Mr. Medina down a notch for me.
Yeah, and it surprised me. I guess I might be too hard on guys, but I think it would have been kind of made me hesitate a little bit. It seemed like a little bit of, what is it? Someone said that TV relationships go much quicker, but in the same hand, I have a thing about, right at the beginning, hey, this is who I am, single mom, this is my relationship, and boom, period. And if I don't get respect for that, then it would be a notch down for me as well. But apparently it wasn't for Lorelai. So. I
thought it was very natural. I buy it. Like I understand that dynamic, and I understand how he's feeling, all of that, right? I think that it was all, I keep saying it, like we're dissecting the characters and whatnot because of how good this writing is, how nuanced these characters are, how honest these characters are in their different ways. Somebody online, sorry, I'm talking with a mouthful. It was Chris. Today, Chris and I were chatting on Facebook, and I was saying that, like, I think it was you, Chris, wasn't it?
Was it when I was talking about how I like to be on Emily's side?
Yeah, and how I said, that I don't think that there's anything so far really that has been presented that should make that's trying to get anybody not on her side, right? From the way I see it, is all of these characters are so honest, and multifaceted that they are going to respond to, like everyone is going to respond to different characters based on their own perspective in life. And when you have a character that you respond to the most, then usually that character's antagonist is sort of your antagonist, right? So like, you know, I'm really responding to Emily for whatever reason, right? And her antagonist currently is Lorelai. So Lorelai is kind of a little antagonizing me a bit, right? Because I'm sort of rooting for Emily at this point, you know, just based on my whatever I'm getting from Emily. And I feel like Max deserves that as well, right? Like that there are people who kind of I'm sure who relate to that character and yeah, I don't know.
Tasha's flashing again.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tasha.
You're fine. I just have a really, really bad habit of interrupting, so this is the thing I'm resorting to now. So I kind of think, like, considering the different times that I've watched this in my life, I have different like perspectives, and now that I'm kind of nearing like the Lorelai's age, I mean, I have like 4 years before that, but nearing like the age she was during the first season, I'm kind of looking at it like from a mother's perspective, which is creepy. But I kind of like understand like where Lorelai's coming from in a lot of this, and I kind of feel like this episode was as realistic as like life can be, because I mean, like a snowstorm might not like keep your daughter's best friend there and you make out with her teacher, but things like that can and have probably happened in life. And so I feel like Gilmore Girls entirely, especially this episode, is trying to keep it as realistic as it can, but also keep it to where like it's going to be engaging like in the entertainment industry, because you have to keep some of it like non-realistic in order to like keep an audience. But this episode for me was as realistic as life can be. That's just me.
And when I watched it back when it came out, I was a year older than Rory and Lane, so I was watching it mainly from their perspective. And now that I'm rewatching it, I'm a little older than Lorelai was when the show started, so I see everything more from her and the other adults. It's weird to rewatch it at a different age and see everything kind of differently.
And do you think that your perspective now changes who your, you know, for lack of a better way of saying it, your favorite character is?
Yeah, I think so. Like when I was younger, I mean, my favorite character when I was younger hasn't popped up yet, so I'm not going to say that one. But yeah, now that I'm older, I get Lorelai and Suki more, and I like their jokes and stuff more. And it's like a different show. Not second time around. I've watched it many times, but it's like a different show with a different age now. 20 years later.
By the way, I just want to let everybody know we've got about another 5 minutes here. I don't want to. That's something that I've noticed in the past. I've just sort of like, oh, it's 8:30, time to get going, you know, and I want to sort of give everyone a 5-minute notice that, you know, just so that no one's caught off guard. Any other
Zoom countdown?
Right. Yeah, before Zoom just like cuts you off in the middle of a conversation. Any other thoughts? Let's see here. Charlie, are you there?
I'm here.
Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I'm just loving this. Gilmore Girls is definitely one for me that I've watched it probably like, gosh, I don't know how many times over the course of my life, but I was little when it first came out. I was probably like 5 or 6, maybe 7 when it first started premiering. So I watched it growing up when it was first premiering. And then I also started again in like high school watching the whole series, and I've watched it who knows how many times since then. So it's kind of interesting now watching it and seeing it with you guys, hearing different perspectives other than the just that it's kind of my fallback show whenever I just don't know what to watch kind of a thing. So that's what I'm liking about this.
And would you say that this episode ranks higher in this season or on the lower side for you?
This episode is probably one of my favorites.
Oh,
of the
wow.
whole series, just because
wow.
it is just like it's just a happy episode, if that makes sense. Like, there's not a ton of like banter. That's not really the right word I'm looking for, but it's just like the snow.
There's not a lot of confrontation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. There's just not a lot of confrontation. It's just like Rory has a good night with her grandparents. Laura has a good evening. That kind of stuff. So.
Okay, that's an interesting. That brings up an interesting point that I'd like to sort of just gauge the room on. Does the room in general, folks in the room, just I guess flash your mics if you want to answer this. Do you tend to like the episodes that have much more like everything is fine, we're all just happy, we all love each other, and or the episodes where we've got like people at each other's throats? Sabrina. Sabrina.
Oh, I love episodes. It's like that. I think we've talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender, but Tales of Ba Sing Se, which is devastating in one part, but it's mostly just like a day in the life of everybody. I like days in the life of people. I like seeing like the inner lives of the characters in most TV shows.
So for you'd actually prefer to keep that sort of those big explosive people really attacking one another to a minimum.
Well, I think conflict drives the story, but I wish there was a little less conflict in television. Actually, sometimes it's nice to just see your favorite characters having a good time and having a nice day. And that sounds very silly, but that's
like a slice of life.
Yeah, the slice of life. It's like the driving. I think that's what drives a lot of fan fiction, because if you think about it, some people write really good conflict, but most of it that I've read in the past has had to do with sort of, the slice of life moments, like the one you were talking
sort of
about
just
Brian.
Living in the world.
Yeah.
Just being right. Like, obviously, one of the things we've talked about, one of the things about Gilmore Girls in general that has attracted such a fandom is that Stars Hollow as this fictional place draws you to it, right? That you want to turn on the episode because you want to just go to your, people have actually said happy place, right? Like, so, and places don't typically, need a lot of conflict in order for them to be comfortable places. We had like a mic flash down the line, Beth, Mary, and Jamie, I believe. Beth, why don't you answer first? Beth?
It wasn't me, but
okay, Mary then. Mary, I know that it was you, Mary. You flashed, didn't you?
I didn't flash. Yes.
Okay,
but,
I was like, who flashed?
Who's flashing us?
I was gonna say, I get where people are coming from, where they say that they like the happy, everybody's happy, but I think the conflicts are there where they're just not as obvious. So the comment, like the moments we noticed and spoke about are Luke's face. That's a conflict. It's just not loud. The moment between Emily and Richard and walking away, and there's still lots to unpack there. So I like conflict, but I don't like the screaming. I actually have a problem when the characters get too loud. I will actually lower the volume and just read the captions because I just don't enjoy the screaming.
Interesting. Jamie, did you flash your mic?
I did. I think that you need a little bit of conflict in it, but again, a lot of people enjoy the show because it's more based on everyday life, and so you can enjoy just the happy moments and the little things and how people are living their lives. But then I think adding just a little bit of the conflict or drama kind of intrigues people and keeps you interested, so it doesn't become so mundane.
Yeah, because we had 2 episodes. I want to say they were back to back with Lorelai just confronting her mother, and the two of them like really kind of having at it. The last one, of course, being the birthday party, and then before that was something else, like kind of similar, that where Lorelai was like, "You gotta let me be the mom here. You need to like something. You need to back off." Can't remember what it was, but it was like two very similar. What's up?
The DSL line.
The DSL, exactly, right. So there was the DSL, and then like the next episode was that. Yeah, I like that stuff, I guess. I mean, I guess the shouting doesn't really bother me that much, but I like when characters, you know, get to that breaking point. Obviously, you can't have it all the time. You do have it all the time, and then it all sort of feels like nothing feels special. Like those moments have to be, you know, spaced out. But you know, conflict is the fuel to the story. So it's true. There's, you know, as happy-go-lucky as, like, you know, as sweet as the town is, as nice as it is to sort of visit and spend time in, you know, there's conflict constantly happening. You know, lots of moments where the characters are like kind of knocked down a notch, or just something happens that ruins whatever great thing that had happened before.
I think you have Regina and Tasha both flashing at you there, John.
Oh yeah, Tasha can go first. I can.
Tasha, let me know.
Okay, so this might just be because of like the person I am and stuff like that, and I kind of like thrive off of like a little bit of drama, especially if it's not about me. But I'm kind of like split 50-50, where I love the happy, kind of go lucky, like just day-to-day stuff, which we'll kind of see like throughout the season. But I also, I mean, this is how like shows kind of get viewers and stuff like that, is conflict, because you can't have a show. It's kind of like the movie Pleasantville. Nothing is ever always happy. Nothing is ever always like gonna get solved within 30 minutes to an hour. And I kind of, so like with everything that has happened so far, I kind of like the conflict, because you kind of see that there are actually, I mean, they're actors, but like they are real people, like the characters are real, and you kind of see that like things aren't always going to be hunky-dory and stuff like that. So I kind of love that. And it's funny you say, I'm not going to explain anything, but what you said, John, about like the conflict between Lorelai and Emily, will kind of like, I'm very interested to see what your take on possible future conflicts between Lorelai and Emily, because it's just, I don't know, I love
it changes from what it is now. I mean, obviously
the example will be tomorrow's episode. That's all.
Oh, okay, cool, great. I'm excited about that then. Regina.
I think like for me, I'd have to echo like Tasha's point. I definitely appreciate the thing I love about Gilmore Girls is that it's like a dramedy. So it combines both aspects of like a more dramatic show with more comedic aspects to it. I think I like the healthy balance of both, because when I watch television shows, I either go like on like the polar ends of the spectrum, like very dramatic shows like Law and Order, or like the Netflix series like Narcos, that deals like with these very heavy and like dark topics, and it can be very draining for me like emotionally after a while. And then I could go like on the other side of the spectrum, where it's like very comedy based. You know, I could do like Bob's Burgers and The Simpsons and Arrested Development. So I like the combination of both the dramatic aspects and those like lighter hearted aspects. Like in tonight's episode, we've seen conflict thus far in the season, but having sort of like this episode where the conflict is not as apparent, I feel like it makes you appreciate those episodes more. So I definitely am the type of person that's attracted to that.
Yeah, because I mean the conflict is all over the show. I mean, it's constant. You know, it's one of the things also that I think makes the show so great is the kind of conflict they use, it's psychological and emotional conflict, you know. But we're specifically, or my question is really mostly specifically about, you know, just about the real like clashing, like actual fights, right? Like I know there are going to be actual fist fights in this series, right? And we've seen, you know, some like yelling and shouting at each other and people snapping, Rory, etc. And so far, you know, I mean, it seems like it happens, like it's a part of the show. It's not something that happens constantly on the show, so it doesn't have the kind of intensity as, like, say, a Breaking Bad, for example. But it happens enough. Like those moments happen enough for me that I feel like they keep things spicy about the show. And I don't know, maybe I need my world to have a little bit more than just, you know, slice of life.
God, I can't wait for you to watch seasons 2 and 3.
Hey, John, without spoiling anything, there's a great Friday night dinner at one point that you're gonna just love based on what you just said.
I hope it's a food fight.
But don't you think that reflects real life though? Like
maybe. I don't know.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, if you have, I don't know if you have conflicts in your life, like maybe the Gilmore Girls, but a lot of us did say that we saw like ourselves in Lorelai and Emily, or Emily and our parents and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as someone who saw both Emily and Mrs. Kim in my mother, so take that as you will, we have the quiet conflict, but then there's the blow-ups. But the blow-ups don't happen every day. If they did, life would be unbearable. But they do happen, right? And so I think the show is really good at weaving in and out of that, because that would, like, Lorelai wouldn't stick around if it was a blow-up every single day.
Yeah, I don't know. that I don't know. I have to think on that, on whether or not I agree there. But because I feel like some of those blow-ups are coming from Lorelai. That's my perspective, though. That might possibly be my perspective on the relationship currently between Lorelai and Emily.
I can say that I actually agree with you on that, because that's always been, I'm not like some of the people, I can't relate to Lorelai and Emily directly because I do not have that kind of relationship with my parents. And it's very different. So I might be looking at it differently, but I've had that feeling too, where sometimes I feel like Lorelai is creating it unintentionally, but she's creating these blow-ups sometimes. And so that's why when we were talking online earlier, I was saying sometimes I want to be on Emily's side. And I always feel like other people have said that Emily, if you're going to have somebody that you're not on the side of, it's usually not Emily. I don't always feel that way. So that was what I was kind of getting at earlier. I know the show's not trying to make you pick sides, but if you're in love with the lead characters, then Emily's not the one that you're supposed to side with sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. I am currently doing a couple of things. We're about to end the room here. I'm making everybody who is up here on the couch a moderator. And the reason for that is I'm going to just duck out, and anybody else who needs to go as well. I know there are lots of folks coming in from the East Coast that are probably wanting to go to bed, but if there are any folks in the audience that want to come up onto the couch, or any folks here up on the couch that want to stay and continue talking about the episode or about Gilmore Girls in general, until the last moderator leaves this room, the room stays open. So it's really that simple. So I don't even have to ask if people want to stick around. It's just, if you do, you stay and you keep talking. I'm also, anybody who joins us on the couch, either during the episode or after the episode, gets a follow from me, because the way I see it is we're friends now. And because we've just, hung out. So I would follow you if I met you at a viewing party and we were watching this together, and we found out that we were both on Clubhouse. So we are coming back tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I am popping in a new DVD. That's something that's like the milestone. Every 4 of these, I'm like, okay, gotta grab a new DVD, and I'm gonna just be going through DVDs over the next couple of months, or more than a couple of months. So I'm hoping to see all of you, or most of you, or however many of you can join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you all for coming. I sometimes forget to say it, but really, I am getting so much out of this show, watching it with folks who already have brewed on a lot of these themes and characters for years. So thank you very much. All right, I'm heading out. Bye, everyone.
John.
Yeah.
Bye, John.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.